Hey, kids, you're listening to A Couple of Annoyed Grumpoys, and this is the 138th Simpsons podcast.
Oh, no, not in springtime, summer, winter, or fall. No, never could I leave you at all.
That's right, we're the Simpsons podcast that discusses the animated sitcom The Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest episodes when they air. Why do we do it this way? Well, an entity known as Wheel of Random has cursed us to only watch those episodes because plenty of other podcasts out there have discussed the Golden Age, that being seasons 1 through 10, so we're tasked to see if we can find episodes that can match those Golden Age episodes. And I say we because I am one annoyed grunt boy named Craig. With me, as always, is
the other annoyed grunt boy, Steve. Hey, Craig.
Hey, Steve, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing great, Craig. You know, this episode is about art and culture, and I want to talk about 4 artists who also are cultured and artists. One named Leonardo, another one named Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello. That's right, I'm talking about the Ninja Turtles. So, we all know the Ninja Turtles, we love them, and there's a theory online that says every group of people or any team that is in media can basically be reduced down to the archetypes that are the Ninja Turtles. Let's take the Scooby-Doo gang, for instance. We have Fred, the leader who's kind of a dork. That's Leonardo. We have the party dude, Shaggy, and by default, Scooby. We have the smart one, Velma. And then we have the one with the dark past, Daphne. Don't go into it. And so I was just thinking about, like, The Simpsons. And so, like, if you take, like, the core family, we have Lisa, who's clearly the Donatello. We have the party dude, who is Bart. The fearless leader who wears blue, Marge. And then we have the person with the dark past, does make sense, Homer. So I just wanted to think, like, what are other things where you can fit in this kind of thing? Like, another one, the X-Men. You have your dorky leader who wears blue, Cyclops. You have your dark past history, Wolverine. Party animal, let's say Jubilee.
Who invented that trope? Because Turtles has only been around since the 80s. So is it more like the Turtles are taking off like the Scooby-Doo? And what is before that? Like, are we talking like old, like...
I mean, maybe in Beowulf there's like a party dude. I don't know.
Look at the Ghostbusters. You have Venkman, who is I would say he's the Michelangelo maybe, because he's the party dude. Raphael, I think... Egon is definitely Donatello. Okay, check. We got that one. So Winston's like the normal, the everyman, right? So, but he's not the leader of the Ghostbusters. Well, technically now he kind of is. If you watch the newer movies, he does own the Ghostbusters franchise. So maybe he is the Leonardo. Is Ray Raphael, and then Michelangelo is Peter?
Yeah, I would say Peter is Michelangelo.
All right. There you go. There's and I'm only going with the real Ghostbusters cartoon, by the way, because we're talking cartoons. Right. The Smurfs, there's too many of them. Like Alvin the Chipmunks.
And they're all wearing blue.
Yeah, Alvin the Chipmunks is kind of similar. Like Dave Seville, Homer Seville. Dave Seville, he's the fearless leader, so he's Leonardo, or I guess the Splinter. Simon is the nerd.
Yeah, Donatello. I would say that Dave Seville is probably the Leonardo, because I would say that Alvin is the Michelangelo.
So then Theodore is Raphael.
Yeah, because he has a dark past.
What's Daphne's dark past, by the way?
Yeah, exactly. In every iteration, the Raphael dark past thing doesn't quite work. But
no. South Park, 4 characters.
Okay.
You have Stan is the Leonardo because he wears blue.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle would be Raphael because he's got a dark past.
Of course.
And he also has red hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Donatello would be Kenny because Kenny, seems smart.
Mm-hmm.
But Cartman's Michelangelo. I don't know about that.
I mean, he likes to party.
Butters? Baxter Stockman?
Yeah, or maybe a Casey Jones.
Maybe this theory's not working out, Steve. I think...
maybe you're right.
I think we should just stick with The Simpsons.
Alrighty. Well, maybe you're right. Let's talk about The Simpsons.
In particular, an episode from, I don't know, let's pick a year here. I'd say 2007. Maybe something from September 30th.
That makes sense to me.
Let's get our listeners set in the mindset of that year by looking at pop culture, of the music, and film of that time. So, Steve, what do you think the number one movie of the box office was for that week?
Well, Craig, if I had to guess, I think it's the hit comedy starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, The Game Plan.
I probably heard of it. I'm probably not going to see it.
Well, it's a bachelor football star Joe Kingman seems to have it all. He's wealthy and carefree, and his team is on the way to capturing a championship.
What did you say his name was?
Joe Kingman.
Joe Kingman, all right.
But suddenly he's tackled by some unexpected news. He has a young daughter.
What?
It's the result of a last fling with his ex-wife, and he must learn to balance his personal and professional life with the needs of his child.
So, you just gave me, the elevator pitch, and some producer said that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I'm not trying to disparage anyone, in their career, but kind of fine right now. I feel like The Rock's career is kind of going, it's not as, the box office draw that he used to be.
Yeah. I feel like he hasn't, I can't remember the last time he had a big, hit movie. I know that he had Black Adam, but I don't feel like that was super successful.
And yeah, that was pretty much the beginning of the end for him, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think that people are tired of smelling what he's cooking. We're okay with it.
Yeah, we're team Dave Bautista now.
That's right.
Even John Cena's getting a little wary for me.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with my favorite wrestler turned actor, Kerry Hulk Hogan.
For all these years, even as a kid, I always thought the Iron Sheik was the bad guy and Hulk Hogan was the hero. We were wrong, Steve. The Iron Sheik was the greatest man of all time. R.I.P. Iron Sheik.
Yes. Gone but not forgotten.
All right, Steve, but we must stay strong, okay? For that we lose all those popular people. Speaking of stronger, Steve, what was the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100?
Well, Craig, it was Stronger by Human Piece of Shit, Kanye West.
I still haven't listened to that song, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. He acts like, a great performer, but I think he's just faking it. I don't think he's really doing it.
Would you say he's pretending to be a performer?
Yeah, which kind of makes me wonder about the songs that were on the Hot 100 alternative track.
Gives me some food for thought.
That's right.
Where did my D go from food?
I think Chrissy Hynde took it because the number one song on the Hot Run Alternative 100 was The Pretender by the Foo Fighters.
I think out of all of the songs that we've done on this podcast, this song is probably the one that, I've listened to the most. I think this song is a banger of a hit. It's on my Spotify song, so it comes on every once in a while. Yeah, I love this song. I love The Pretender. I wish we could play it, but thanks to the internet, we can't.
And yet they can play it on Spotify where they'll pay them, a thousandth of a penny.
You rascal. Also, your chest is looking very flat there.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a breast reduction surgery just for that, because the number one song on the country Hot 100 is Take Me There by Rascal Flatts.
Good on them for that. And finally, Steve, Jessica Biel's pretty cool. Let's see, what's the number one song on the Hot 100 electric song?
Why, Craig, it's Love Stone by Justin Timberlake.
We don't like him anymore, right?
Yeah, because he was love drunk on that while driving.
Yeah, but his wife is still cool, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure. Okay. See, let's just get into it. This week we are talking of Homer of Seville. Homer enters the world of celebrity when he discovers a new talent whilst laid upon in his hospital bed. Singing opera?
Oh?
Yeah, his dulcet tones stop babies crying and make the weak feel strong.
Wow.
So the songbird is propelled into the limelight, wowing the crowds of Springfield Opera House. Stardom proves it's not all cracked up to be, though, as Homer finds out that with fame and fortune comes obsessive fans. Steve,
wow,
where did you get this synopsis from?
From longsynopsis.com.
I'm going to say this is one of the better synopsises that we've read.
It's very, I'm compelled to watch this episode.
Yeah. It's not like some episodes where it's Bart munches a butt and Lisa discovers the truth.
Yeah. Homer has an adventure while Bart is surprised by a thing.
Yeah. Because we usually get from Simpsons Wiki or sometimes IMDb or whatever's on Google. I don't know where you got this one from. I just wanted to know. I want to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I think it's probably Google, but Google did a good job this time.
All right, so let's go ahead and watch this compelling episode.
Sounds great.
All right, we'll be right back. we're back. Today we're talking about Homer of Seville. It's the second episode of the 19th season, originally aired September 30th, 2007. It's episode 402 in the show's run. The nerd code is JABF18, written by Carolyn Omine, directed by Michael Polcino, and the showrunner, Al Jean.
Alrighty. Of course, we've had Carolyn Omine on our show. We've mentioned her several times. Aside from being a writer for Full House, which we've discussed a lot, she's also written a lot of episodes of The Simpsons, 26 to be exact. And this is number 13 for us, our first episode ever, Dial In for Nerder. She co-wrote with William Wright. He's also written Little Big Mom, a segment from Treehouse of Horror 11, The Great Money Keeper, Strong Arms of the Ma, A Star is Torn, Working Mom, Highway to Well, The Way of the Dog, The Octopus and the Teacher, another Treehouse of Horror segment in a mid-childhood night dream, the most recent episode from season 35, back in October of 2023. Trying to think of any standouts that we have not seen from her.
Can I just stop you there?
Sure.
Steve? Because as you may know, and maybe listeners to the podcast, I've been doing a Full House rewatch, and I'm now in the Carolyn Omine era. So we can talk about that.
That's great. I want to hear about this. Yeah.
So the first episode, of course, is Smash Club, The Next Generation. I'm going to say her episodes so far have been pretty solid. I think she has done a pretty good job on Full House. Like a lot of cartoonish antics from the Tanners, and it makes her a great candidate to be a writer for a cartoon series. But like the Smash Club one, Jesse becomes the owner of the Smash Club, which was like the club they always talked about in the earlier seasons that he always play at. And, it's a nightclub with acts.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the stupidest thing. This has to do with Carolyn. It's just because, this is a family show. They're like, Jesse buys this club and makes it like an all ages place. Like, that's not going to succeed.
No, I always was bothered by that. Like, where like Stephanie and DJ were just like hanging out at this club that is like,
well, they were
a bar.
They were cocktail waitresses.
Right, which has to break a lot of violations of labor laws.
Do I say Stephanie? I meant DJ and Kimmy because they're both in high school at this time. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess.
So he's a club owner. One night is new musician acts, but like with kids. It's like, who would go to a club that watches 13-year-old boys play in a band? Even Jesse's annoyed by this concept. Like, you're the owner of this bar. Why are you so annoyed? You're the one who set this up. And the only reason that was going on because it was a plot point for another episode, which I believe Carolyn Omine wrote, about Stephanie has a crush on this kid and plays guitar in a band. Mm-hmm. They're middle schoolers this time, but
if I'm remembering correctly, and it's been a while for me, but at this time, or didn't Joey and Jesse also have like an advertising business?
No, they're done with the advertising.
Okay,
they're the radio DJs.
Ah, yes. Because I remember that you're right. They're doing the radio DJ thing, and Jesse's trying to do the Smash Club. Plus, he has two young twins at home. And doesn't he try and reinvent himself as Vulture?
I don't know if I'm there yet, Steve.
Okay.
Because they're, because I know there was one where his song Forever, and we just watched that one, got like big, and they turned it into a rap song, and he was big in Japan.
I do remember that.
He was wearing like the hammer pants, and that whole like genie outlook look that was popular in the 90s.
It's weird that was a thing. I remember having those hammer pants. Not those specifically, but having some hammer pants.
Oh, I had so many of them.
Yeah.
3.
They were comfy
a lot.
Too.
Yeah.
Basically like thin sweatpants.
Mm-hmm. They were, right. They couldn't hide boners as well as the sweatpants, though.
No.
What else is like that Smash Club? Then there's like comedy nights, of course, with Joey. And they just have like juice. I don't know. But I mean, I kind of remember like juice bars or like non-alcohol clubs were kind of a thing.
Yeah. I do remember like a lot of places when I was in high school that would allow all ages, and they'd kind of look the other way when people were smoking cigarettes, because at the time you'd still smoke indoors.
Oh, right.
So it's basically a place for 17-year-olds to smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another thing in the club. They have like an espresso machine. And that, this is the 90s. This is when not just you're plain Folgers coffee, you're starting to get into artisanal coffee. So
yeah, it's the height of the second wave coffee movement.
But it's about Carolyn, Steve. So I enjoyed her episode. So when I've been watching in episodes, and it says written by Carolyn Omine, I'm like, I'm going to extra pay attention to this episode.
Nice.
But Steve, speaking of Carolyn Omine, we're allowed to watch these episodes of Full House on our Patreon because she wrote on Simpsons and this. So I'm excited to do our 7-episode run of Full House.
Oh boy,
Carolyn episodes. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Okay, hey Steve, do we have a chalkboard gag?
We sure do, and it reads, "The Wall Street Journal is better than ever."
Why is that funny to me, Steve?
Well, Craig, it's a reference to the recent takeover at the time of the Wall Street Journal by News Corporation, or News Corp, the mass media corporation of Fox owner Rupert Murdoch.
Oh, R.I.P. Rupert Murdoch.
Ah, yes. So much good that you've done to the world. Like, help make Fox News what it is today.
I mean, he's alive right now of this record, but who knows when this episode airs?
Yeah.
He might be dead.
Fingers crossed. Oh, no, I don't want to get canceled like Kyle Cass.
Oh, true.
I didn't mean it.
And that shows you the time period we're recording this.
3 months
With that
ago.
reference. Steve, we have a couch gag. How about that? It's a single-celled organism resembling Homer, who separates into lots of cells, all of them yelling annoyed grunt. And eventually, they turn into jellyfish, and then into a fish-like creature, and swims onto land, avoiding an octopus, Mr. Burns, who tries to catch him. So he grows legs and turns into an amphibian that eats a dragonfly like Lenny. He walks along and keeps evolving from a dinosaur to a primitive mammal. He sees a pterodon that represents Agnes Skinner, and then a T-Rex resembling Bart, who tries to eat him, and then a Stegosaurus resembling Lisa, which, out of all the dinosaurs, that's the most accurate looking of the Simpsons characters, because the spine's on the back.
And
it's there, I like it.
And it's also brilliant because Stegosauruses, or Stegosauri, they're herbivores, and so is Lisa.
Right. So Lisa prevents Bart eating Homer by swiping him with her tail. After surviving the meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs, which I don't think it was a meteor now, right? It was the vaccine that wiped them out.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Homer continues jumping from tree to tree to become an ape, and then he becomes a cave person walking into a snowstorm, while another cave person, resembling Moe, de-evolves into a small shrew-like animal and walks the other way. I like that bit. As a cave person, Homer then evolves into an Arthurian villager, conquistador, then a pilgrim, then a Victorian-era gentleman. And he eventually becomes the modern Homer, and he gets into the house and sits on the couch when Marge asks him if he brought the milk, and Homer sighs in exhaustion. And that's the episode, Steve.
Wow. I feel like I'm normally the one to ramble on and on with the couch gag, but you did a great job. That is maybe not in length, but in scope, one of the grander couch gags that we have because, it spans the existence of time.
They always have these longer couch gags for shorter episodes, but I also feel like this episode has a lot of content in it, so I don't feel like we're missing a lot of episode.
I agree, because even though it is nearly 2 minutes with the intro, this is a fairly full-packed episode. And also, Craig, did you know that this is actually the second time that the couch gag was used? The first...
No, I didn't.
Well, it was first in season 18, episode 16, Homerazzi, but they changed it a little bit because in that one, instead of asking if he brought milk, Marge asked Homer, what took him so long?
Yeah, which do you like better?
I kind of like what took you so long better because it's she's waiting for him to come home since the dawn of time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I will agree with you on this one.
I also feel like this one is used often in reruns.
That would seem weird to have it in reruns because it's, like you said, 2 minutes long. They want less for more ad time.
That's true. So maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I'm thinking of the other one where it's the Actually, I am. I'm thinking of the other one where the camera zooms out and rather than history, exactly, it's all of the universe.
Yeah, and that was pretty short. So that's what we were thinking.
I think so.
All right. Well, let's just get on with the episode, Steve. How does it begin?
Well, it begins, as it always does, at the First Church of Springfield, where the topic of the day is Jesus, the real American Idol, which, it's still a show that's on, but I feel like at this time it was a lot more prevalent. As Reverend Lovejoy ends the services, the congregation hurry out of the house of faith, looking to get as far away as possible. The Simpsons lead the rush, as Homer is eager not to be the second person out of the parking lot. As family runs, Lisa falls down. Homer shouts to leave her, but Marge reminds him that they left her behind last week and that she didn't make it to dinner.
So she just was unconscious on the floor at the church, and Lovejoy didn't even bother to revive her. She just woke up and walked home.
Yeah,
Pain.
and so like I don't know church, but it gets out at like 11 in the morning.
It's always early. It seems like you have to be there at like 6 in the morning, and like you're done at 10 or 11.
And I know that a lot of people have dinner early on Sundays, but even if you're having dinner at like 4 p.m., that's still like 5 or 6 hours where Lisa is just not around.
Yeah, I think if you work in like a diner or any large restaurant, like if you work in like a Golden Corral, like a buffet place, like Sunday's probably your worst day to work because all the church people go in and they're also probably the worst customers.
Yes. I used to work at a hotel, and while I was not a server, I was in management, but we would have a buffet style thing on Easter Sunday, and there are no worse customers than those that are dining out on Easter Sunday. They're just awful people. They're the least Jesus-like, I would say.
Yeah, I'm so glad I never went to church.
Me too.
But I'll still celebrate like Christmas because it's presents. That's all we care about.
Of course, yeah.
Like, I'm a weird American. I enjoy capitalism, but I don't enjoy religion.
Capitalism is fun, but it's also really bad, and it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
We're trapped under it, and I can appreciate some of it, especially as a child of the 80s when all the kids shows were just basically commercials.
Yeah.
But they're so blatant about it, I didn't really care because they're at least being honest with me. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, wasn't there actually like a law in place that kids' cartoons couldn't be shelling stuff to kids? Like, it's just all a toy commercial. And then I want to say Reagan got rid of that ban, and that's why we had so many 80s cartoons that were just like, okay, we have a toy, make a cartoon.
That makes perfect sense because, one, that sounds like classic Reagan action.
Yeah.
And yeah, you think about like He-Man, G.I. Joe, all the good stuff. Like, they're all just, 28-minute ads.
Yeah. And I don't want to like besmirch Reagan if that's not him, because Reagan's so far the movie with Dennis Quaid is like my favorite movie of this year. It's just, what a great hero Ronald Reagan was to this country,
Oh, yeah. Nobody better.
At least the Quaid sperm became Jack Quaid, and he seems cool.
Yeah.
That little Quaid sperm just kind of gets stale the older they get.
Yeah, it's a little sour and a little crazy.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. We'll see Mr. Jack Quaid hopefully not deteriorate in the years to come.
Yeah.
Homer speeds out of the church parking lot, taunting God by shouting, "You'll never catch me, Lord." Once they are on the road, Homer comments how boring the service was, saying that he completed an entire book of find a words. And then when Lisa looks through the word search puzzle book, she discovers that Homer only circled I's and A's, which he points out, those are words. Steve, I know you're a crossword head. We found that out recently, but how are you on word searches?
I don't do a lot of word searches because I find them to be a little less challenging than, say, a crossword. However, and I don't want to be like a shill for the New York Times, but they have a game called Strands, which is a word search game, but they don't list the words. You have to find them yourself, and there's a theme. And that game's a lot of fun, and I like it. It's in my morning rotation. So, yeah. Do you ever mess around with the word search?
No. I think it's the same way of when you're a kid, word searches are the first game you play, and then you go to crosswords. Mm-hmm. But it's that one, like, simple crossword one where it's just like there's only a couple lines. It's not all connected.
Yeah.
And then you go to the fully connected crosswords. In the same way of, like, you start with checkers, then you play chess.
Yeah. Although I don't know how to play checkers.
Has it been that long that you haven't, or did you never learn?
I never learned. I know how to play chess. I'm not great at it, but I know how. But yeah, I don't understand checkers.
It's probably because you didn't know your grandparents. Your grandparents are supposed to teach you checkers.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Steve, we're going to come up on a clip here real soon. So let's prep ourselves because Marge is craving a post-church service meal that's not quite breakfast, not quite lunch, but it comes with a slice of cantaloupe at the end.
Well, where should we go for brunch? Griddler on the roof? Thank God it's fried eggs? Luftwaffles? Bodacious frittatas? Buffet the Hunger Slayer?
I want to say one.
Be my guest.
Denny's. Oh.
Every place has such a long line.
Don't worry, we'll just go home. Your mother can cook.
I just want a simple salad with pine nuts, haricot vert, seasonal heirloom tomatoes.
Forget it! One day a week I should be able to put on nice clothes and have someone bring food to me.
There's a place with no line.
Woohoo!
Don't worry, Marge can go home and cook us something.
Yeah.
It's such a dickhead thing to say. And I think it's happened in a couple recent episodes where they're referencing like their jokes of like the signage jokes. Mm-hmm. And I like how Homer's like, oh, I want to do one Denny's.
It's funny because it's Thank God It's Fried Eggs, because here in Portland, we do have a place called Fried Egg, I'm in Love, which is a take on a Cure song.
Right. Steve, I need to know right now,
Mm-hmm.
which place are you going to eat at?
I think I would go to Buffet the Hunger Slayer.
Do you think Sarah Michelin star Geller is the chef? Nice, Tom.
You mean do you think she's working in the kitchen as a Sarah Michelle Griller?
Damn it. Why didn't I think of that? All right.
I would go to Griddler on the Roof if I were a rich man.
I'm going to go to Loof Waffles because it's my family's heritage.
Of course, yes. The Craig family loves a pointy hat.
I keep finding them in my grandfather's closet.
Along with this weird shape, it's kind of like a cross, but not exactly. It's weird.
Huh. We'll never know, Steve.
But back to The Simpsons, as Lisa points out, the food spot that Bart finds is actually someone's house that is getting food from starving teachers catering, as Miss Krabappel, Dewey Largo, and other educators bring in plates of entrees and hors d'oeuvres. Homer feels that Marge is way too classy a lady to crash a private, but before he can finish his thought, Marge is climbing through a basement window, shouting that she's not cooking, and the family can cut their own meat.
So the Simpsons walk into the house of strangers, trying to act cool, and Homer suggests that if anyone asks, they are plumbers, and that they should start plumbing until the people go away. And the family tries to acclimate to the crowd, with Marge saying, "Hi, you," and Homer reminding the stranger that he does in fact know him, even if he thinks he doesn't.
As they check out the spread of food, Marge suggests Homer try the au jus, which he enjoys, calling it not quite gravy and not quite blood. Craig, do you like an au jus, a French dip?
Of course.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
So Lisa points to a crowd forming around a table. Bart thinks it could be a self-service Sunday bar, and this excites Homer, who can't wait for that hot fudge and caramel and crushed nuts, all slathered over a delicious elderly corpse.
What? That's right, Steve. The Simpsons crashed a funeral. Marge tells the family to put on their long faces and then to put on even longer faces to really sell the mourning. So the family tries to leave but can't seem to find Bart, who is sharing his grief with another boy. And Homer goes for one last appetizer, but a kindly old lady requests his assistance.
Mahogany. Great movie, great casket.
I miss my Pop.
I miss him too. What's your name?
Donnie?
You're Donnie?
Pop-Up said that after he died, you should give me $10 a week.
Starting now.
Okay.
Listen, I'm out of town next week, so...
Come on, we're leaving. Ooh, after one more mini quiche.
Excuse me. My brother twisted his ankle setting up the chairs.
Well, the tragedies that stalk this family never cease.
Would you like to be a pallbearer?
Of course. Oh, I thought she said polar bear.
I would be very disappointed if somebody invited me to be a polar bear and then I had learned I had to carry a dead guy.
Yeah, and Bart, a little scamp, trying to get a kid to give him $10 a week.
Pretty quick thinking on Bart's part. Just be like, hey, yeah.
Right. Have you ever crashed a funeral? What a dumb question.
No. I don't think I have.
Yeah, think about that. No. I mean, there's that movie, Wedding Crashers. The obvious sequel should have been Funeral Crashers.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll do that in like 20 years when like Vince Vaughn and Luke Wilson are older and they can look for some old tang.
I can actually see that happening. I don't think I actually saw Wedding Crashers. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to. But the idea of like crashing a wedding always titillates me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if it's like a buffet style.
Oh, yeah.
Not like the plated ones where like, you have to order the chicken, the fish, or the vegan option. Or if it's like an open bar.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever like been to a wedding like, oh, how do you know the bride and groom? Have you ever went up to someone and asked them that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've gone to a lot of weddings with my wife, with my now wife, but even before we were married. And it'd be like a friend, a coworker, or a coworker of hers, and I didn't know the people, anybody at the wedding. So, I could have just lied and been like, yeah, I'm Cousin Jeffy. We used to play softball when we were 8.
Oh, were you at the game where Cousin Jeffy hit the ball and it killed the priest?
They said it was an accident, but I think it was revenge. You know what I'm talking about.
It's weird. I think we're at that age now, like, we haven't been to many weddings yet because everyone we know is like either married or, won't never be married. So,
yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day. There was like a couple of years when I went to a bunch of weddings. And then
it's like your early
Yeah, like my early
Your late
20s.
20s, early 30s.
Exactly, yeah. And then after that, it just kind of dried up. And I don't think I've been to a wedding since my own.
You know, we have to look forward to funeral season, so that's coming up, Steve.
Oh, boy. Gotta get a new suit. Cool black one.
Yeah, and, you know, it's not complete behind you, so your ass is just hanging out.
Yeah. Looking good.
That means skeletons could have sex with your body.
I'm okay with that. Who doesn't love a good boner?
All right.
So, another pallbearer pleads with Homer to please respect the dead, which he does, until he falls into an open grave hole, which is also called a speluncher. That's what a hole in the ground for dead people is called. Homer shouts that his back hurts, and not in a good way. So seeing this, Bart suggests that they move on with their lives and begins to cover his father in dirt.
Well, at Springfield General Hospital, Dr. Hibbert informs Homer that he has a mild back sprain and that he ingested a dangerous quantity of grave dirt. And Homer says that Dr. Hibbert is always nagging him to eat more dirt, but Hibbert corrects him saying vegetables. And Homer retorts by reminding the dog what vegetables grow in, and after a quick check of Homer's spine, Dr. Hibbert makes a surprising discovery.
This should take only a minute and cost about $1,000. No!
That doesn't sound like Homer's usual annoyed grunt.
No! No! Fascinating. When Homer is on his back, his stomach lodges perfectly under his diaphragm, giving him a powerful singing voice.
Is that a real thing?
It is. Tenor Andrea Bocelli recorded an entire song on his back.
You know, Homer, your singing could help alleviate patient suffering and save us a fortune in Demerol.
My pleasure.
The line about, this will only take a minute and will cost about $1,000.
Which at the time was expensive, but now it's pretty cheap for medical care.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Do you think we should be recording this line on our backs? Maybe our voices will sound better?
Maybe that's what's wrong with our show, is we've been doing this standing upright, and so that's why we sound so shitty. It's a good idea.
Maybe next week's episode we'll try that.
I'm just worried I'm going to fall asleep.
I mean, most of our listeners probably do listening to this podcast, so.
That's a good point.
And they're always driving their car, so man.
Oof. Homer begins to sing Robert Glay's If Ever I Would Leave You from Camelot, and the family is stunned by its talent. As Marge pushes him through the hospital, a flatlining man hears Homer's dulcet tones and comes back to life. A woman in labor, her husband filming, the delivery doctor, and a newborn baby, still connected to the umbilical cord, all enjoy Homer's song. When Bart raises Homer's hospital bed to its upright position, Homer's voice returns to normal, but when he's back horizontally, his deep, rich tenor returns.
So Al Jean went to Carolyn Omine for the episode because Matt Groening wanted to do an opera episode. Which, you know, Matt doesn't have to write episodes, but it just seems weird that he'd ask Al, who, you know, still writes for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why didn't Caroline go to, like, her kids and say, hey, do my job? That would never happen.
No, I mean, talk about passing the buck. Like, Matt to Al to Caroline, like, kind of lazy.
Yeah, come on. Guys, you're grounded. No Marge's Sundays for you.
I mean, that's probably a good thing because Marge's Sundays not so good, but.
Yeah, forget about that, yeah. Hey, so Caroline did get the idea from an episode of American Idol when opera singer Andrea Bocelli was mentoring Chris Daughtry and told Daughtry if he did lay on his back, he could sing higher notes. Now, I would attempt to do this, but, you know, with all the podcasting equipment around it, might be too difficult. So maybe later tonight, like when I'm in bed, if I wake up at like 3 a.m, I'll try to scream really loud and see if it works.
Yeah, I'm sure your wife will appreciate that.
And child.
And your child, yes.
Okay. Well, Homer is pushed into the operating room where he and Dr. Hibbert duet while Hibbert performs surgery. So meanwhile, Mr. Burns is down at the hospital morgue, and he's doing a little shopping. Monty gets a liver from a guy and a case of Adam's apples. Why does he need a case of Adam's apples?
No.
And a motorcycle man's mustache. And how come we never see him wear that mustache?
Be really cool.
So Smithers tells his boss that the money he's given to anti-helmet laws have really paid off. As Monty puts it, young people are his future.
I do have to say, though, there is a bit of a blunder. When they're down the hospital, there was a sign that says hospital morgue, but hospital is misspelled.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Mr. Burns then hears Homer's beautiful singing voice, and his heart begins to race. And the camera zooms in into Monty's chest, where elves operate a steam engine connected to his ticker. They then head to the Betty and Herbert Weinstein Pavilion, which aren't real people, where Homer continues to sing. A nurse distracted by Homer's performance pokes at a patient repeatedly in the face with a thermometer until he just takes it and sticks it in his mouth. but unfortunately, it was a rectal thermometer.
Is the Betty and Herbert Weinstein Pavilion like a joke of like when you go to like a festival that has like a wine pavilion, and that's why it's Weinstein Pavilion?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's not like Josh Weinstein's parents.
That's kind of what I thought it might be, is like just a reference to him and his family, because I looked it up. When you Google Betty and Herbert Weinstein, it literally goes to this episode and nothing else. So yeah, I think it might be his parents, and they're just kind of giving a nod to him.
Okay. Well, Homer finishes his song and Mr. Burns claps wildly. He then sees Smithers is controlling his arms. And I like the animation because it's like close up of Mr. Burns and just flaying his arms. But then when you get the wide shot, it's Smithers doing it. It's really well done animation. Monty tells Homer that he is the founder, artistic director, and standing ovation starter of the Springfield Opera House, which is producing La Boheme. Monty wants Homer to be the lead. So Homer is concerned since he can only sing while on his back. But Monty is sure they'll cover it with a rewrite.
So at the Springfield Opera House, which resembles the Sydney Opera House, teamsters lazily scurry to get the set in order when Homer asks the director one question. What is this movie about? The annoyed director reminds Homer that once again, it isn't a movie. So Homer corrects himself, saying, film. The exasperated director chokes Homer, informing him that it's actually an opera and that he's in it. He then kisses Homer on the lips and wishes him good luck.
Did you see the establishing shot showing the opera house? It's actually settled between Moe's and a Krusty Burger.
That's a good catch. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's like somebody got lazy with their tapped out.
Right. The opera begins with a tenor singing in Italian. As a caption to the audience show, he is asking Rudolfo, played by Homer, why he is lying down, and Homer retorts in a song that he hurt his foot, and Homer continues to show off his grand voice. While high up in the rafters, Lenny and Carl watch. Lenny thinks Homer is fantastic, but Carl wishes they had better seats.
I think they're pretty good seats. I would like to sit up in the rafters away from everybody.
Yeah, you could hang out with the lighting guy and all those like rats that run across the rafters that you see in shows.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a Ratatouille situation and they're actually running the show.
And there could also be like a crazy old bird lady up there.
Oh, yes, and she'll meet a young boy who's lost in New York.
Yeah.
Order a cheese pizza, hang out with Donald Trump.
And Rob Schneider.
That's true. And what a movie. So a fancy woman in the audience watches the show and begins to weep up while she's watching through her opera glasses. And then she wipes away her tears with an opera napkin. On stage, Homer weeps at the sight of a woman on her deathbed. He then pushes that woman off the bed and takes her place singing, me, 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 me. He stands up to cry some more and then lays down to sing. As the show ends, the crowd cheers and Mr. Burns gives Homer a dozen roses, telling him that he's a star. This elicits a woohoo from Homer, but his enthusiasm is deflated when Homer reminds him that he's actually an opera star.
Ah, bummer. Well, backstage, Marge and the kids praise Homer's performance. Bart tells him that he was great, and Lisa says that he contributed to culture. And Homer remarks that, like, I didn't mean to. But Lisa reassures him that, no, it's a good thing. And Homer is relieved, and he feels that this makes up for him showing up drunk at the father-daughter dance. And then Lisa says that the dance isn't until the following week, but Homer puts it, you can't change the future.
So Homer's operatic fame begins to grow as workers hang a sign outside of the opera house with Homer belting out a note. They then reorient the poster to show Homer in landscape mode since he has to sing flat on his back. Homer's on stage about to perform in Aida, an opera set in ancient Egypt. He's pulled by two elephants, and the elephants have a conversation using elephant trumpets where one asks the other pachyderm if they're pulling the full cast, and the first elephant says that they're actually just pulling one guy. And this joke is a little weird for me because the elephants aren't shown on stage. Like, I know that Aida takes place in Africa, in Egypt, and there are elephants in other parts of Africa, but like, I don't know. It's weird.
But talking elephants is okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm sure Matt had no issue with that.
We don't know. Elephants probably have their own language. They're very intelligent creatures.
They are. They do mourn at funerals. And they hold up funerals for their passing animals. And yeah, they're very sweet animals. Very smart.
Yeah. They're cooler than, I don't know, let's say a wallaby.
I would say so, yeah.
At a hockey game, Homer sings the national anthem. His drawn-out note of the word brave breaks the glass to the penalty box, and 2 hockey players in the box say they're finally free and skate away with sinister laughter, leaving a trail of flames behind them. So that means that the hockey players were already in the penalty box before the game started?
Yeah, maybe they're in penalties like from the previous game, or maybe they got in trouble while they're warming up.
I just like that they take it so seriously. They're like, haha, we're free. We can never escape this penalty box until the 2 minutes is up.
But they are devious criminals who have flames as they skate.
Yeah. All right. Well, Homer hits the locker rooms where he meets a fellow tenor.
Figaro, la la la.
Nice set, Homer. That was a hot one.
Wow, praise from Placido Domingo.
Just call me P. Dingo.
I'll think about it.
You know, Homer, there is one thing about opera that has always bugged me. Everyone sings instead of talking. But you made me believe I was in a magical world where singing is talking.
Thanks. You know, of the 3 tenors, you're my second favorite. No, wait, I forgot about that other guy. Sorry, you're third.
Wait, Homer, before you go, there's a new note I've been working on. Tell me what you think.
What if you gave it a little more of this flavor?
Like this?
Keep reaching for the stars, kid.
Steve, is that actually Placido Domingo?
That sure is. He was asked to come up with a note for the episode, and he actually did sing that note.
Placido Domingo, one of the 3 tenors, not my favorite tenor, like Homer's, because I think he had sexual allegations about him. So yeah, we canceled him, Steve.
Yeah, I'm Jose Carreras all the way.
Let me guess, your dad was a fan of the 3 tenors?
He was. He had several box sets of cassettes of the 3 tenors, and he would like to listen to them and sing about whatever they sang about. And yeah, he's a big opera guy.
And good for him.
Yeah.
Would you ever get into opera?
I mean, I feel like I probably will when I'm like 55 or something, but for now, no.
So next year?
Exactly. I've got some time.
And we know we watch a lot of Frasier, and Frasier is pro-opera, and he votes.
That's true.
I would go. I think I'd probably go to an opera if someone gave me a ticket.
But I do think the pervert Placido Domingo does make a good point. Like, why do they have to sing in Italian? Like, I don't speak Italian. Like, they should speak in English.
Is there such thing as English operas?
So this was a big thing with my dad that really pissed him off, because there was a time in the late 80s, early 90s when there was like this trend to make opera more accessible to people. And so they would sing in Italian. And my dad felt like it was like an offensive thing to take this art and make it for the masses. So yeah, I think that he was very angry about it, but he was also just an angry guy in general. So
you said sing in Italian, you mean sing in English?
Yeah. Sorry. He would.
Okay.
Yeah, they made it more accessible to the American audience, and my dad didn't.
Okay. Were they interpreting the famous operas, or were they writing their own?
I think it was an interpretation of classics like Lava Web or others.
Yeah. The one I was in this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Barber of Seville. Well, let's just write our own opera and not have it be, rewrites. It'll just be like about a talk show host, like a daytime talk show host from the 80s and 90s.
I like it.
Maybe played by a black female. I'm thinking, starts off like, doing some wacky stuff like my Nazi teenage son is dating an alien, but then like, maybe matures more. The show goes on and has like celebrities on, but then talks about social issues.
And with, her giving away cars or something.
I like this. What could this title of this opera be?
Donahue.
I love it. Oh, R.I.P. Donahue.
Ah, yes. So Marge and Homer enjoy a romantic anniversary dinner at the Gilded Truffle, but Marge feels that it may be even more romantic without Homer's entourage. The camera zooms out to show Carl on his phone and Lenny smoking a cigar looking like Turtle from HBO's Entourage. Homer tells Marge that he needs his childhood friends to help him keep it real. After all, Marge wouldn't want him to keep it fake, would she? Marge begs to be alone on their anniversary, so Lenny and Carl offer to move to another table, but not without Carl whispering Yoko under his breath.
Another show I've never seen, Entourage.
Yeah, I've never seen Moment 1. I know, the only thing I really know about it is Jeremy Piven, and there's a plot line about an Aquaman movie before the actual Aquaman movie.
Yeah, I don't think I need to go back. I don't think I'm missing anything.
No, I think it's probably a bad show that even fans of it realize it's a bad show. It's like the male version of like Gossip Girl. It's just a guilty pleasure show that's probably not that great.
Or is it the male version of Sex and the City, Steve? Because they're on the same network.
Could be.
Another show I proudly will never watch.
I have seen too much of it.
All right, well, Marge points out how much nicer it is when it's just the two of them. Her sweet sentiment is interrupted, however, when Homer is greeted by an elderly fan and an even more elderly mother.
Excuse us, would you mind signing autographs for my mother and me?
Oh, my pleasure. To the hottest girls in the room.
What is he saying?
I said you look hot. Hot! Ay, Chihuahua!
Ay, Chihuahua!
Wawa!
I want you to stop flirting with women.
No problem.
Sir, may I say I thoroughly enjoyed your performance.
And may I say I'm enjoying the calm waters of your deep blue eyes. Oh, well. What? That's how guys talk.
It's true.
Yeah, that's how we talk, right?
Yeah, I love the deep blue ocean of your eyes.
And I think you have eyes as well.
2 of them, yeah.
I want to say brown?
Sure. I think. Hazel, I can't see them. They're my eyes.
Why is my grandmother your eyes?
Isn't it weird that, like, we use our eyes to see, but we can't use our eyes to see our own eyes? Whoa.
Who knows?
Nose. You can't even smell your own nose. I may have gotten high.
Yeah.
This episode.
Yeah, no, I'm not high, but like now thinking like how did we know what we looked like? We'd have to wait till like Michelangelo or Leonardo or Donatello or Raphael like drew us, right?
That's right, man.
We didn't have mirrors. I guess we'd have to like look in a stream.
And then would we like even realize that it was us? Who was this person or this thing looking at us?
That sounds like it's an SNL bit, like it's back in cave people times, and this is a sketch you would do with an attractive host at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so it'd be like, I just don't know if I'm pretty enough for anyone because I don't know what I look like. And, you know, the caveman do like, oh, no, you're not good looking. No, you're ugly, but I guess I'll date you.
Right. Also, your top is too ugly. It makes you look ugly. You should take it off.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a nice like 80s, 90s sketch. I could just see Dana Carvey and Phil Hartman and...
Yeah.
And the host that week would have been Raquel Welch or something.
Yeah. Maybe a Heather Locklear.
No, Heather, yeah, like I'm trying to think. Although Raquel Welch was still hot in the 90s, Steve, so it's okay.
That is true. Yeah.
And she's probably still good looking now. I don't know. I do like that bit, though, the end with the guy.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's really funny, yeah.
But Marge didn't find it funny because she storms up the restaurant in anger. As Homer chases after her, she states that he's out of control with the late nights and the eating. Like he's even outgrown his cape, which has a large tear in it. Marge misses her alone time with her homie. And just then, a limo pulls up. The window rolls down, and Lenny and Carl ask Homer if he needs help, maybe taking Marge shopping. Homer tells them that he'd rather walk home with his wife, and his yes-man praises the decision, saying that walking really is the best.
When Carl and Lenny were saying take shopping, did they mean like offer?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
I think he just meant like waste Homer's money, taking her to like show her a good time so she's not like, doesn't have to spend time with him. I think that's a plot line in Entourage. Like whoever the main guy is, he would have his buddies take a girl that he was maybe sleeping with but not dating on like an extravagant shopping trip to keep her occupied so he could see another person.
Again, never watched Entourage, so I just assume it was like sleeping with the fishes, like a mob thing.
I mean, maybe you're right. I didn't think about it, but yeah, maybe they want to murder Marge.
All right. So in the back of the limousine, an elderly fan tells Lenny and Carl that she really wants to hook up with Homer. Yeah, these are 2 elderly ladies that were flirting with Homer in the Gilded Truffle, by the way. And Carl responds that they both know that ain't going to happen. But Carl lets the woman know that he's right there. And Lenny turns up the radio, which is playing Superhero by Jane's Addiction, which happens to be the theme song of Entourage. So Lenny and Carl and the old mother and daughter have a foursome. Or is it just Carl banging the younger one, and Lenny and the grandmother are just watching.
I don't know.
He's watching his best friend, and she's watching her daughter have sex.
That's possible, which is like just like an iota less weird
Yeah.
than having a foursome with your mother.
Yeah. All right, Steve, play Would You Rather real quick with me, okay?
Okay.
We're Lenny and Carl's situation. You're Carl, I'm Lenny.
Of course.
And you hook up with the woman and you have sex with her while I'm watching and her mother's watching. Or we're both going to town together. Or let's reverse this. This is a 3 Would You Rathers, where now you're with your dad and you're hooking up with 2 women that are friends. And you're hooking up with one person while your dad watches, or you're with your dad. So there's 4 options here. Do you see my my bracket?
I do. I'm like, no offense to you or my dad, or I don't know. There's no right answer. I think that the preference that I would have is that I am with a person and you and her mother are watching.
Wait, so your best friend and your dad are watching?
Or
you have to do one of the scenarios.
No, I'm saying that like me and the person are going at it. You and her mother are watching.
Okay.
Because
so it's the first scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. That seems to be of the 3 very weird and gross situations. And I don't want to. No, I'll kink shame. Like, I think we can draw a line somewhere.
So you just don't want me to have sex with the person you're having sex with his mother.
Yeah,
that's pretty selfish of you, by the way.
I know, but I'm a selfish lover. What can I say?
Okay. So I just have to smoke my cigar, wear my baseball shirt, and with her mother, just sitting in the limo watching you rail her daughter.
If the mood strikes you to masturbate, I'm not going to stop you, but just don't join in.
So you'd rather have me pound off watching you bang an old lady rather than bang an older lady.
I mean, I guess if you want to bang the older lady, that's fine. I just wouldn't be comfortable with like us getting involved. It's just, I don't know.
We're not getting involved.
Okay.
Well, Steve, this really is the Sophie's choice of a new generation.
Because the old lady's name was Sophie.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Homer assures Marge that he can only sing those love songs by imagining her beautiful face. And Homer's reasoning his groupies are actually his and Marge's groupies.
So Marge thinks that Homer's sentiment is sweet, but the lovely moment is ruined by a pack of older women who chase after Homer. So he and Marge run into a dark alley to hide from the ravenous fans. One fan, Dorothy, uses her opera glasses, that's the second opera glasses joke, to scan the scene and then switch to thermal imaging to get a better look. So inside of the dumpster brand dumpster, we see the thermal body scans of Homer and Marge, and Homer's found a bite to eat in the dumpster. The ladies trap Marge against a fence and Homer, and Marge is worried that the fans will rip them to pieces.
That's pretty gross of Homer.
Yes.
I also like how the lady says, Dorothy. It's such a fun way. Just then, the lights of a motorcycle shine on the alley. So the bike bounces off the gut of a passed-out Barney Gumble and lands between the rapid fans and Homer and Marge. The helmeted faceless driver informs them to hop on, and they ride safely back to 742 Evergreen Terrace. And Marge shows her gratitude to the mysterious saver, and is surprised when the biker's helmet is removed.
Sir, thank you for saving us. You want to come in for coffee?
That's right. I'm a woman.
A lady motorcycle driver? What is this, the Twilight Zone?
It's a shame if you out-of-control fans can make the rest of us look bad.
I couldn't agree more, Julia.
Listen, I love opera, but I hate the way these people treat your husband. Why don't you make me president of Homer's fan club, and I'll keep the crazies in check?
That's a great idea. To celebrate, I'll go whip us up some Chex Mix pie.
So, did you see the show tonight? Remember the part where I forgot the words and I just sang, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs? I'm hoping they send me a case.
Now listen, Homer. You can have me anytime you want me.
Marge?
But if you say one word to your wife, I'll tell her you attacked me.
What is it, sweetie?
Everyone's wearing clothes in here.
That's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, I like it.
That line delivery is really funny. That's nice.
It is. She's just so sweet about it. Like, oh, everybody's wearing clothes, as it should be. But unfortunately, the woman who was speaking did zip off her bicycle gear to show off her naked body. And Julia, that woman, is played by the former backup singer and keyboardist for the band The Rentals. whose name happens to be Maya Rudolph. And I don't know if you know this, Craig, but she was also on a show called Saturday Night Live, and she'll probably appear on it several more times in the upcoming season, playing Kamala Harris, until, of course, Donald Trump rightfully wins his place back in the Oval Office.
Finally.
No, Maya Rudolph is great. She's been in a lot of things. She has a show on HBO called something.
It's called something.
I completely blanked on what it's called. But she's great in Big Mouth and, just a wonderful person.
Steve, do you mean Bridesmaids and...
Loot is the name of the show.
Loot? Okay, there you go. Don't forget Grown Ups 2, The Emoji Movie, Wine Country.
Ah, yes.
Disenchanted. 50 First Dates. The Nut Job. Hubie Halloween. Licorice Pizza. Gattaca. She was in Gattaca. A Christmas Story Live. And Duplex. Plus many more.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was Maya's voice until I was reading the notes here.
I didn't know until I did some research, too. I watched the episode a couple times before doing notes.
I think it's kind of rare, too, when the celebrity guest star or guest star voice is coming into the third act.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, that this plot point happens so late. When she tries to seduce Homer, that's nearly 16 minutes into the show. The following day, Julia's hard at work as the president of Homer's fan club. On the phone, she tells another devotee that Homer will send a photo, provided that they offer a self-addressed stamped envelope. She tells another fan that Mr. Simpson simply cannot sing at their daughter's birthday party, but he will come for cake. Another call wants Homer to dedicate a shopping center, but Julia feels that the anchor store isn't worthy of Homer.
I like how there's a little girl who wants Homer at his kid's birthday party.
What little girl doesn't want an opera singer?
Yeah. Unless, of course, because we know it's older fans, it could be like an older lady that just wants to sing at the daughter's birthday.
Yeah, it could be her 45th birthday.
Yeah. And it could be the same couples that Lenny and Carl banged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd come for cake.
Who doesn't?
Good.
Yeah. Wouldn't come for pie.
I would come for pie. I'll come all over pie, Steve.
Maybe if it's green pie.
What anchor store do you think? It was probably a Sears and Roebuck, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe a Mervyn's.
Steve, no one knows what Mervyn's is. That's a West Coast thing.
Oh, yeah.
Was it? Oh, no. Wait, Myron Frank was the West Coast. Mervyn's, you're right. That was real.
Yeah, I think that was just everywhere, but yeah, we just imagined Myron Frank.
Yeah. Okay. Marge feels that Julia is perfect, allowing her to relax for the first time since Homer became an opera star. Homer nervously responds that he's not sure if Julia is the right fit. He looks over to Julie, who closes her eyes, revealing that she's written love and you on her eyelids. She sticks out her tongue, which also has a note tied to it that says lots.
It's impressive to write on your eyelids.
Yeah, like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. How did that girl do that?
Yeah.
The student.
Mm-hmm. So at the Springfield nuclear power plant, Homer is hard at work at the reactor core when Julia appears in there in her bra and panties. She grabs Homer's gloved hand and places it on her bosom, causing Homer to run away screaming. Later, Homer takes Santa's little helper for a walk. He looks away for a moment, and then he looks down and sees that the dog on the leash has been replaced by Julia, who's on a leash, who is on all fours dressed in patent leather bondage gear. Once again, Homer runs away. That evening, Homer heads for bed, where he finds Marge's blue beehive sticking out from under the covers. He goes to join her, but when he pulls up the blanket, he sees that it's actually Julia wearing a Marge wig.
That's it. Let me make something very clear. My heart belongs to Marge, and you can never, ever have it. This opera's over when the fat man sings.
All right, Homer. I understand perfectly. You shall never be mine.
That's good. You've calmly accepted that you will never have the only man you could ever love. And now I think it would be best if you left. Julia, wait!
Yes?
Before you go, could you hire your own replacement? But make sure she's not crazy like you.
Actually, I wonder if that actually was a wig, or if it was just like, the beef eaters in England?
Yeah.
I think it might have been one of those hats, because it had a strap on the bottom rather than, like, a wig.
Or like a marching band.
Yeah.
All right, well, Steve, the following morning, Homer goes to pour a bowl of Crestio cereal, but is shocked to find a cobra in the box. So he beats the snake against the fridge, much to Maggie's delight. And Lisa's concerned that someone is trying to kill Homer, who wonders who it could be. Possibly a disgruntled former employee? Well, whoever it is, the cobra is their symbol. Watch out, Snake.
I think it's Cobra Commander.
Did he actually command cobras?
He didn't, but he did have Serpentor, who was an amalgamation of all the dictators of the world of all time. And he did have snakes that he would, like, stiff out. Like, he had snakes around his body that he would pull off and kind of jerk off until it got hard. And then he'd throw it at people like a spear. I never realized how weird it was until I just said those words in that order. Anyway.
And now my brain hurts.
As it should. At the Springfield Opera House, Homer prepares for performance of The Barber of Seville. The police have surrounded the premises with cars parked outside of the arena and helicopters flying overhead. In the dressing room, Homer warms up his voice by singing "Stew, stew, stupid Flanders," and Ned pops in asking, "Why the crescendo, my dear old friendo?" To which Homer sings, "Get lost, you waste of a mustache." Marge feels that they should cancel the show, but Chief Wiggum assures her that his squad has taken every precaution.
Chief, I think we should cancel the performance.
No can do, Marge. My first duty is to the season ticket holders. But don't worry, I got the entire Opera House on a complete lockdown. We got sharpshooters on the gargoyles, inflatable Homer decoys in the seats, and to take out the biggest threat of all, we're pre-crashing the chandelier.
Somebody watched Phantom of the Opera.
It wasn't me.
I think it was Wiggum. I think that.
Oh, okay. Don't embarrass me, Steve.
I would never claim that you watched Phantom of the Opera. I know how you feel.
Okay. As Homer's rendition of Barber of Seville begins, Marge tentatively watches from the balcony with fear. She's so nervous she can't even enjoy Count Almaviva serenading the intended bride of Dr. Bartolo. Through her opera glasses, Lisa doesn't find anything suspicious, other than someone loudly unwrapping their candy. So in the audience below, Mo somehow hears Lisa and informs her that it's not candy. It's a lamb chop wrapped in foil. So that's 3 opera glass gags, Steve?
Yeah, so we have the woman in the beginning being so moved by Homer's performance that she's looking through the opera glasses. She begins to cry, and then she has an opera napkin, which is basically an opera glass with a napkin over it. And then we have the ladies in the alleyway chasing Homer, and they use the thermal imaging glasses through the opera, and then Lisa watching Mo eat some pork chops. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because usually they do 2 jokes of the same joke, never 3.
Right.
They never do really the rule of 3.
Yeah, it's usually the rule of 2.
Right.
But Bart, using binoculars instead of opera glasses, takes a look at the orchestra and asks his mother if all conductors carry poison blow darts in their pockets. Marge calmly responds that Arthur Vilder, another conductor, used to, but thinks it might be a good idea to take a look. Marge scopes out the conductor and sees that it's Julia, about to use her baton as a blow dart to attack Homer.
So Marge calls for Chief Wiggums, which I think is really funny. She says Wiggums and not Wiggum. I don't know if that was like meant to be like in the script or like is it a joke?
I don't know, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, she's saying that the maestro is the killer, and Clancy replaces his officer's hat for a Viking helmet and goes to take action. When he reaches the end of the stage, Julia rips off her wig and signals to the brass section, whose loud blast causes Clancy to fall in the orchestra pit. He lands on a timpani and is poked in the gut by the bow of a cellist. So Wiggum first calls for an allegro and then corrects himself, asking for a Dante. As the musicians slow their tempo, Wiggum finds relief.
Just as Julia is about to blow Homer with a dart, Marge leaps from the balcony, does an impressive flip, and grabs a French horn from the player. She angles the horn so it catches the dart and then shoots out the other end, hitting Julia in the neck. She falls to the ground, and Wiggum calls for the snipers to take their shot. Several gunmen from the crowd fire, all missing Julia. She wakes up, annoyed, and checks her watch as they continue to shoot at her, still missing the target. Just then, a chandelier lands on Julia, and Wiggum calls for a wrap. As Julia is about to head to the hospital via ambulance, Dr. Hibbert offers his expertise.
Luckily, the sniper bullet stopped her heart from pumping the poison through her body long enough for the chandelier to squish it all out of her. With any luck, she'll be up and stalking within a week.
I'm sorry you got hurt, but you learned an important lesson. No one comes between me and my homie.
I'll get you for this, Marge, if it's the last thing I do. Oh, and I scheduled the cable guy to come on Wednesday between 10 and 2.
Oh, but Wednesday's not good for me.
I know, Marge. I know.
Let's go, Hagliacci. Or should I say, Madam Butterface? What? I had two.
Well, that's it. I'm retiring from the opera. It's just too popular. And I know something much more fun I can do on my back.
And I began that clip with Julia. She's cable. What's cable, Steve?
I think it's some sort of wire or something that used to provide like entertainment, or I don't know how it worked, but I think it might have been like a radio thing.
Yeah, we don't know. We're hip Gen Z or kids, right?
That's right. Skibbity toilet.
And 23 is Skidoo to U2.
Yeah, mid.
What do you think Homer's talking about more fun on his back, Steve?
I don't know. Maybe, let's see, what do I like to do on my back? Sleep? Masturbate?
Same time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. Go losing.
Oh, yeah.
While masturbating. Just cool runnings.
Back at the Simpsons household, Homer is on his back, sitting on a scaffolding, painting his rendition of Michelangelo's The Birth of David on their ceiling, Steve. Homer is taking the place of God while Marge is where Adam usually sits, and Bart or Lisa looking in awe. Homer tells them that singing opera made him good at painting. And Bart asks Lisa if that's a real thing, and she responds with a no. And Steve, that is the episode.
Wow, I like that joke because in the beginning, when Homer discovered that he could sing well by lying on his back, Bart says, "Is that a thing?" And then Lisa explains that it was. And then again, he's good at painting, and then he's like, no. So good callback.
Also great animation, too. Again, just like they were using like a fish eye lens almost looking down. Like it was really well directed. Yeah. All right. Well, Steve, that is the end of the episode. So I think I need to take a break, and we'll come back and wrap it up. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right. We'll be right back. Back. All right, Steve, let's wrap up this week's episode, Homer of Seville. We'll talk about some of our favorite scenes, some jokes, maybe find an MBJ, and then we'll give it a review and find out what we're watching next week. But before we do all that, we like to give a gift, something from this episode that said, hey, I think my partner in podcasting crime would enjoy this. And Steve, there is quite a few things in this episode I think you would enjoy. One would be maybe a female personal assistant just taking her clothes off in front of you. But Steve, we don't live in that kind of age.
It's true, sadly.
Opera glasses, there's a lot of opera glasses. But you, Steve, you already wear glasses, so what are you going to do with those, right?
That's fair.
We'll call you Six Eyes if you wear those. But I thought, Steve, you need to dress for success. And I think the only way to dress for success is to have your own opera cape.
Oh.
And let you know, it's not torn, so you can tear it yourself.
That's very sweet of you, Craig.
One more gift, as a homemade gift, Steve. It's a food. Even though you said something negative towards pies in this podcast, I'm still going to give it to you. It's Marge's famous Chex Mix pie.
Ooh, that sounds actually pretty tasty. I do like Chex Mix, and I think a Chex Mix pie could be delicious.
Now you may continue by giving me gifts.
Alrighty. Well, I know that you're a bit of a collector, and, maybe, you're done with Marvel. You're done with action figures, you're done with cards, so I'm going to get you a new collection. So I got you a liver from a guy, a case of Adam's apples, and a motorcycle man's mustache.
With this case of Adam's apples, maybe I'll make an Adam's apple pie. We'll have a pie day with Chex Mix pie and Adam's apple pie.
You can save it for your birthday.
All right. Thank you for all those wonderful gifts.
Indeed.
And thank you to all that don't wear helmets while riding your bikes, because we get your organs.
That's right. Sell them on the black market.
Steve, what made you laugh in this episode?
I really like the opening sequence of them sneaking out of the church trying to find brunch. The gags of the different restaurants that Marge listed off was really funny, and it made even more funny by Homer saying Denny's. I enjoyed them sneaking into the wake. And I really liked Marge in this episode. She didn't have like a ton of lines, but I think that she was really funny. Also, I enjoyed Homer and Hibbert, their relationship. Homer being like, you told me to eat more dirt. And Hibbert's like, no, I told you to eat more vegetables. And Homer's like, well, what do they grow in? I thought that was fun. What made you laugh, Craig?
No, I agree with you. I think going from the church to the brunch to the funeral to Hibbert's, solid first act. And Mr. Burns. And you're right about Marge, especially with her like Chief Wiggum's line was very funny. You know, the entourage stuff, even though I've never seen it, it just kind of seems subtle with Lenny and Carl, and I dig that. And our discussion of the old ladies banging Lenny and Carl was very fun, so that might be my favorite scene. Visually, this episode was well done, too. I think directorial-wise, Michael Polcino, which also sounds like an opera singer.
It does.
Directed the hell out of this episode, and just some of the visual gags, like the Springfield Opera House. Like, if you don't look and see that's next to Moe's and Krusty's, it's a funny gag.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ending, too, with Homer painting the ceiling was well shot. And the Cobra scene in the kitchen was funny. So I think visually this was a really funny episode. And yeah, there's a lot of fun jokes into it. And it, like I said, with Maya Rudolph showing up towards the end of the third act, or the beginning of the third act, really silly. Oh, and don't forget the hockey players.
Oh, yeah, that's really fun, too.
But MBJ, I think you're right. I think Marge, just those couple Chief Wiggums, and then also, like, that's nice about, Homer saying there's not people that we all have our clothes on. That's just very funny.
I think she's my MBJ for the episode, even though there were a lot of laughs.
Right. All right, Steve, what did you think of the episode altogether?
Well, as we may have discussed last week, I do remember watching this episode initially, and I really didn't like it, just because I thought the premise of Homer becoming an opera star was just so goofy. But I think the episode as a whole really works. I think the plot structure is really interesting, because like we talked about, Maya Rudolph showing up in the last 5 minutes of the episode is really an interesting thing. I wish we could have had more of Maya Rudolph, but I think what she did do was really great. I think her character was a lot of fun. Placido Domingo, I think they used him well because they had him do a couple of jokes, nothing too heavy. No, like not a lot of humor, but just a little bit, and he got to show off his voice, which is all you really want from a guest star like that. It dips into the layperson's opera knowledge enough. Like, I don't know a lot about opera, but it did enough that made me laugh. And all in all, I think this is a fun episode. I think it's a watch. We're in the era at this time of Homer having a lot of crazy jobs, which they still continue to do, but I think this is like the peak of it. And I think this is a good example of that. It's really gag heavy. Like you say, it's visually a very stunning episode. And there's just like a lot of little jokes, like Homer pushing the woman off the bed while he's performing just so he can lay down. And then he gets back up to say a line, and then he lays back down to sing. I think that was really good. All in all, I think it's a good episode. Better than I thought it would be. So, of the three tenors, I give this a Placido Domingo.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's the that initial like read of Homer becomes an opera singer because of his back. Like, this is dumb. It's just one of those like Homer, it's a plot of Homer gets a new job, and a lot of those episodes are hit or miss. And this one just sounded not that interesting. But you're right. I think this one was a lot of fun. And a lot of good laughs in it. I think you're right at the time when this aired. Probably a negative because, we're in season 19, not considered one of the best seasons. And this is kind of where, like, is this show ever going to end? Why do they keep making these shows?
Mm-hmm.
When do we get to, like, that fever dream of, or, it's like the runner's high, right? When, like, I used to be a runner and starting off running, it sucks. I don't want to do this. Why am I running? But then you hit, like, a certain mile and, like, everything's just in tune. You're like, I'm fine with this. I don't need it to end. I feel perfectly fine. I'm trying to wonder what season that is of The Simpsons, where it's like, I accept what they do. Like, I don't care that Homer was in a grunge band in the 90s. Like, who gives a shit,
Yeah.
So I'm wondering when, it probably has to be like the mid-20s for me.
I think so.
Yeah, so I think that's why, like, this episode then, but now just watching it, it's just a lot of silly Simpsons fun. And, yeah, I agree. It's a watch for me again. I'm not poo-pooing this episode. If I gave it a ranking, Steve, the last opera he does is the Barbara of Seville, which, of course, is the title parody of this episode, Homer Seville. And, Steve, that opera premiered February 20th, 1816.
Wow.
Which I believe shares the date of your dad's 40th birthday.
That's right. It was a Tuesday.
He probably went to see this opera, right? So out of 1,816, I'll give this episode 17,076.
Great score and a great year. I agree with you about The Simpsons, and I think also to do with our age, and we're just kind of like letting go of trying to be cool about comedy and just accepting that some things are goofy and fun. And I think that with our like knowledge of comedy and like media now, I think we can appreciate these episodes that are less rooted in reality a bit more. So yeah, I think it's a fair score and a good episode.
But will next week's episode be as good? Why don't we grab the Wheel of Random and find out? How about that?
That's a good idea. Let's take out that Wheel of Random and let's give it a spin to see which season we're in. Boo-doop.
All right, Steve, we're in season 15.
Oh, season 15. Alrighty, let's give it another spin to see which episode we're watching. Boo-doop.
Episode 11.
Season 15, episode 11.
All right, Steve, give me a title or else.
Okay, well, this episode was called The Homer of Seville. And as we always do, we relate it to this episode for no particular reason. And Homer of Seville makes me think of the Barber of Seville. Andrea Barber was on Full House with Carolyn Omine, Meanie Bobini, Mr. Feeney, Boy Meets World, Ben Savage, Wonder Years, of course, Fred Savage, Winnie Cooper, Cooperstown, Baseball. I'm going to say it's The Great Barbino is the title of next week's episode.
Unfortunately, Steve, it's not. And I would like to watch that episode. We already watched an episode this summer with Barton Baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Steve, it's actually called Margical History Tour. Margical History Tour. What do you think that episode is about?
Huh. Well, of course, that's a play on the Magical History Tour. And while they've had the episode where she's obsessed with Ringo Starr, and they had another episode where Ned is really into the Beatles, as the Barton Millhouse learned, I think they're going to go for a third run. And of course, there's also the Lisa the Vegetarian where Paul McCartney's in there, and the episode with George Harrison. But I think they're going to do a fifth episode regarding the Beatles, in which Marge starts a cover band with Mrs. Krabappel and Edna and, let's say, Cookie Kwan. And they're a Beatles cover band, and Marge has to quit, though, when Homer becomes the Yoko Ono. And in the B-plot, Milhouse and Lisa start a candy-making business, but Milhouse has to quit because he has a nut allergy.
Wow, Steve, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you are wearing your shirt backwards.
Ah, damn it. That's why it's so uncomfortable. That makes sense. Thank you, Craig. But I guess I got the episode right on.
And also the episode's wrong, Steve. It's actually, Steve, what do we fear the most from Simpsons episodes?
Oh, I think, aside from death,
you mean the death of the Simpsons? Yes.
X-Source, yeah. Probably a 3-part vignette episode that isn't a Treehouse of Horror.
Well, Steve, this is the one time you got something right, and that's correct.
Interesting.
It is a 3-story episode where Marge gives kids unforgettable history lessons with 3 tales, starting with Henry VIII, the U.S. explorers Lewis and Clark, which we know all too well because we grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and the bitter rivalry between Mozart and Salieri.
Wow.
Steve, do you remember this episode?
No.
Really? Because it did air February 8th, 2004. It's not like you were doing anything important in 2004, so I'm surprised you don't remember.
I know. It seems like an episode that I would have watched at that time, because the season 15, we're still like in The Simpsons, but I don't have much memory of this. How about you?
I do, because I remember the Lewis and Clark stuff, because I'm a big fan. But I don't really remember the Henry VIII or Mozart stuff.
Interesting. Well, I'm excited to watch it, and I hope the listeners are too.
Yeah. Written by Brian Kelly, directed by Mike B. Anderson. I hear Mozart, I think of Last Action Hero. Who is Mozart? Anyways, Last Action Hero. Pretty good movie.
Yeah.
It killed Schwarzenegger's comedy career, but I still like it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. Let's wrap things up by saying bye to everyone, okay?
Alrighty.
So, hey, contact us on social media like Instagram, Threads, or YouTube at 13simpsons, or you can email us at 138simpsons@gmail.com.
That's right. And if you go to your favorite podcasting app, you can leave us a review, give us 5 stars or the equivalent, and write a review, but it doesn't need to be a real review. You can just tell us what you like to do when you're flat on your back, and also what your answer would be in the would you rather scenario. If you want to get some cool swag for the back-to-school season, go to tpublic.com/user/annoyedgruntboy. We have a whole array of t-shirts, and you can turn those logos into all sorts of other merchandise, like mugs or caps or whatever. So check it out. You'll be glad you did.
All right, for this week, I've been Annoyed Gruntboy Craig.
And I've been Annoyed Gruntboy Steve.
And remember, I want you to stop flirting with women.
You can't change the future.
Everyone's wearing clothes in here.
Not the annoyed grunt. Boys,